and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye. Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight to the biggest story that's developing today, and that is the story in Lakhimpur-Kheri. Now, you remember what has happened basically is that a minister's son, a union minister's son, has been accused of driving his SUV into a group of farmers. Now, this was denied by the minister, who said that his son was not present. And after that, many members of the mainstream media, who might be accused at this point of not telling the entire truth or not telling the truth at all, actually put out stories saying the farmers had lathis, that they had attacked the cars, that they had broken the windscreen, they had threatened the driver, and they got hurt when the driver was trying to escape. As of now, a new video has surfaced on the internet that actually shows the incident. Now, in that video, you can see very clearly a Jeep SUV driving into a group of farmers who were peacefully walking down the road. In fact, the Jeep drove into the farmers from behind. They didn't see it coming. It threw several of those farmers, including a bearded elderly gentleman, into the air and then proceeded to plow through the rest of the group. It's a very disturbing video. We are not reproducing the video on the show because it's very disturbing. There is a second SUV that follows immediately after the first Jeep. It doesn't slow down. It also moves through the crowd really quickly. It doesn't show any interest in the people who are injured and fallen over. Another video has now surfaced on Twitter which shows the occupants of the first Jeep getting out of the car and running away on foot while there's a man writhing in pain near the wheel. None of them stopped to check on that man. Now, this throws terrible light on what happened in that incident. It does establish a few things. First of all, the farmers were peaceful. They were actually walking down the road by themselves. They didn't see the car. They weren't reacting to the car. They did not attack anyone. Secondly, it shows very clearly that they were attacked from behind. And it shows very clearly that the windscreen of Jeep number 1 was intact. And so the visibility of the driver in question was not a problem. He could see where he was going. As it was earlier accused that the windscreen was shattered, which is why he couldn't see where he was going, is not true based on this video. What this video does not establish, though, it doesn't establish whether or not the minister's son was in the car in question, because you can't see him in that video. The minister has denied that his son was in that car, and we can't establish that from looking at the video. Several eyewitnesses who were part of the group of farmers have spoken to people in the media and said that they saw him in the car, but there is no video evidence to corroborate that, corroborate that sentence. The video has, of course, gone viral on the internet at this point and is being used as evidence of what happened in that event. There is now, and before I move forward, I must tell you this: there were several of people who wrote to me on Instagram saying you must share the video. This is how I interpret it, and I'd like to share this with you. Our job as journalists is to tell you what happened, and we've effectively just told you what happened. If you particularly are interested in seeing the video, it is on the internet and you can find it and take a look at it for yourself. But in order to shield my audience from what is a very distressing video, I've told you what has happened, which is my job, but I don't have to traumatize you with the video in particular. There is, of course, severe political fallout from this event. Remember, Priyanka Gandhi was restrained by the Uttar Pradesh police at a local guest house in Sitapur. They have now, after 24 hours after they detained her, they have now officially arrested her and 10 other people to, and I quote, prevent commission of cognizable offences. This is under Code of Criminal Procedure, that is CRPC sections 144, 151, 107 and 116, basically to prevent someone from breaching the peace. These have also been registered against Uttar Pradesh Congress Chief Ajay Kumar Lalu and Member of Parliament Dipendra Hooda was also from the Congress party, among others. The Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel was stopped from leaving the Uttar Pradesh Lucknow airport today. There is a video that he has shared on Twitter where Baghel can very clearly be seen sitting on the floor of the airport in front of numerous policemen who have stopped him from leaving the airport and entering Lucknow. He's also seen in that video telling them very clearly that he has no intention of going to Lakhimpur-Kheri, but he should be allowed to go to Lucknow if he chooses to do so. He had hit out at the Uttar Pradesh government for not letting him land in Lucknow. He was not given permission to land in Lucknow, and when he did land today, he was not allowed to exit the airport. He said, and I quote, "Government of Uttar Pradesh is issuing a decree not allowing me to enter the state. Have civil rights been suspended in Uttar Pradesh? If Section 144 is in Lakhimpur, then why is the dictatorial government stopping me from landing in Lucknow?" he asked. The Uttar Pradesh government has in fact imposed Section 144 of the CRPC as of Sunday after those clashes in Lakhimpur, and said that no leader of any political party will be allowed to visit the district. Owing to the prohibitory orders in the district, permissions to land in Lucknow were denied, like I told you, to Baghel, the Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Chani, Punjab Deputy Chief Minister Sukhwinder Randhawa, and according to the UP Additional Chief Secretary of Home. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav, Bahujan Samaj Party leader Satish Chandra Mishra, Bhim Army Chief Chandrasekhar Azad were also stopped from visiting the district. In the meantime, Congress leader Navjot Singh Sidhu has said he will walk from Chandigarh to Lakhimpur if Priyanka Gandhi is not released and the Union Minister's son, who's been accused of this heinous crime, is not arrested. In a tweet, Sidhu said, and I quote, "If by tomorrow the Union Minister's son for this brutal murder of farmers is not arrested, and our leader Priyanka Gandhi, being unlawfully arrested, is not released, the Punjab Congress will march towards Lakhimpur-Kheri." End quote. In the meantime, the mortal remains of 3 out of the 4 farmers who were mowed down by that vehicle were cremated in their native places by their families. The 4th family, though, has refused to conduct the final rites and have demanded a second post-mortem. Now, according to the Additional Superintendent of Police Rural of Bariak, Ashok Kumar, he said that a decision to demand a second post-mortem can only be taken by senior officials, but the family of 22-year-old Gurvinder Singh, who died in that incident, refused to cremate him because they said that he had been shot dead by someone inside that car. His autopsy did not confirm that he had been shot. The relatives said that we don't want to conduct his last rites until we get another autopsy done. Bharatiya Kisan Union leader Rakesh Tikait said the post-mortem report of a person who was shot dead during the incident is not correct. A post-mortem is being conducted again. Cremation of 2 bodies has already been done. In other news, in Uttar Pradesh though, but away from Lakhimpur-Kheri, it's the 5th of October, which means it is now 1 whole year since Siddique Kappan was arrested. He's been in jail now for a whole year. He was arrested when he was on his way to Hathras in Uttar Pradesh from Delhi to cover the gang rape incident that took place last year. Kappan has been charged with a very serious UAPA and sedition. Incidentally, the UP Special Task Force, which was investigating this case, has filed a 5,000-page charge sheet against Kappan in which they have accused him, and this is the accusation, they have stated that he did not write like a responsible journalist, only reported events related to Muslims. The Special Task Force sees this as an attempt to incite Muslims and believes that Kappan wrote also to sympathize with Maoists and communists. This is according to the Indian Express. In June this year, Siddique Kappan's mom passed away and he was allowed to visit his ailing mother very briefly for 5 days of bail, including his travel to and from the Mathura jail to his residence in Kerala. Kappan is also shifted to the AIMS hospital after the Supreme Court instructed the Uttar Pradesh government to give him proper treatment. It was then that his family said he was being subjected to mental torture. It has been a year since this journalist has been in jail, and one can tell from the reports of the Special Task Force that writing only stories in relation to Muslims is not technically a crime in this country, at least. Well, yesterday we told you about the Pandora papers, as many as 12 million documents across 14 companies detailing cash that's stashed overseas in tax havens have actually been released by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. In India, the Indian Express is part of this consortium. There are 300 odd Indian names of people who have stashed their money overseas. Also, according to the Indian Express, the central government on Monday has directed the Central Board of Taxes, the RBI, the Enforcement Directorate, and the Financial Intelligence Unit to investigate these papers. It turns out that the papers reveal investments by offshore entities into the IPL franchises of Rajasthan Royals and Kings 11 Punjab. Also, an ex-military chief of intelligence and his son have stashed money overseas, and Lakshmi Mittal's younger brother, Pramod Mittal, has also been named. In other news, the Air Chief Marshal, V.R. Chaudhry, has denied that any two-finger test was conducted on the woman officer who raised allegations of rape against her colleague, who is a flight lieutenant. Speaking to PTI, he said, and I quote, "No two-finger test was done. Disciplinary action will be taken based on report of inquiry." This comes after an Air Force officer accused the Air Force doctors of subjecting her to the banned two-finger test and accused authorities within the Air Force of forcing her to withdraw her complaint when she accused a colleague of rape. Last week, the National Commission of Women raised the issue with the Indian Air Force and condemned the actions taken by the doctor. A quick look at the COVID numbers, and it's good news on the COVID front. India has reported 18,346 cases in the last 24 hours. Kerala has reported 9,735 new cases in the last 24 hours, but experts have cautioned that we shouldn't let our guard down just yet. This is important. The Supreme Court on Monday has issued directions about the compensation for COVID victims and the granting of death certificates. Now, any family that has lost someone to COVID will receive compensation of 50,000 rupees from the government. The compensation will be dispersed by the District Disaster Management Authority or District Administration. No state will be allowed to deny this compensation, I beg your pardon, to the family solely on the ground that the death certificate does not say died due to COVID-19. If the person, according to the Supreme Court, is diagnosed with a positive RT-PCR report and then passes away, they qualify for this compensation. Deaths occurring within 30 days of the date of testing and the date of clinically determined COVID case will be treated as a death due to COVID. Maharashtra, as a government, has announced 5 lakh rupees for all children who've lost their parents to COVID as well in the state. According to ANI, 15.3 crore rupees have already been dispersed so far to 306 children across the state. According to Lancet, 1,19,000 children lost their parents due to COVID. Globally, this figure is about 11 lakh in 1 year. Taking a look now at news coming in from the world of business and economy. Petrol and diesel prices have hit fresh record highs in the country again. Petrol prices were increased by 25 paise, diesel by 30 paise. Last week, petrol prices surged for 4 consecutive days. In Mumbai, a litre of petrol will now cost you 108 rupees and 67 paise per litre. In Delhi, petrol will cost you 102 rupees and 64 paise. Like I keep telling you, remember, about 45 rupees out of that 108 is actually petrol. The rest is state and central taxes. Also, Bengaluru-based meat delivery startup Licious has raised $52 million in a round with a post-money valuation of $1.05 billion, making it India's 29th unicorn startup this year alone. It's also become the first direct-to-customer startup to gain unicorn status, co-founded by Vivek Gupta and Abhay Hanjura. So basically, while we went into lockdown, a lot of the startups that focused on creating marketplaces using the internet or apps and phones did very, very well. News coming in right now from across the world. A large oil spill off the coast of Southern California is posing a huge threat to local wildlife. According to the BBC, around 5.72 lakh liters of oil have spilled into the Pacific Ocean south of Los Angeles from a possible leak of a underwater pipe, I beg your pardon. The oil slick in California has started washing ashore, killing the fish, contaminating the wetlands and nearby beaches that have now been closed. On Monday, 14,320 liters of oil were recovered from the water. Taiwan's president has said that Taiwan is committed to defending its democracy against increasingly aggressive China. She went on to say that Taiwan will do, and I quote, whatever it takes to defend itself, end quote, against China, and has warned of catastrophic consequences if the island of Taiwan falls to China. This comes after the Chinese People Liberation Army had sent nearly 150 planes into Taiwan's air defense identification zone in the last 4 days. That brings us to the end of the news today. Thank you so much for listening. If you did manage to get to the end of the bulletin, leave us a green heart. Also, we would love to hear from you if there's any feedback that you have for us, if there's anything specific you'd like us to focus on. For now, thank you for watching. Good night.